Good morning, wonderful and amazing third graders. This is Coach Ben bringing you today's morning message. I hope you're finding the time to stay active so you can keep both your minds and your bodies healthy. So, as we find ourselves well into our journey on the Oregon Trail, I'd like to share a bit more about what Oregon represented for so many early pioneers. This morning, I want to share how Oregon was described by a person named Alexander Ross and share a few things that made the promise of Oregon so appealing for all those crazy pioneers like yourselves. I hope you enjoy. Those who arrived at Oregon City after a voyage down the Columbia River to Vancouver and a trip up the Willamette saw the promise of Oregon sooner than those traveling other ways. Alexander Ross, one of the earliest white fur traders in the region, described his approach to Willamette Falls in 1814. The banks of the river throughout are low and skirted in the distance by a chain of moderately high lands on each side, interspersed here and there with clumps of wide-spreading oaks, groves of pine, and a variety of other kinds of woods. Between these highlands lie what is called the Valley of the Willamette, the frequented haunts of innumerable herds of elk and deer. In ascending the river, the surrounding country is most delightful, and the first barrier to meet with is about 40 miles up from its mouth. Here, the navigation is interrupted by a ledge of rocks running across the river from side to side in the form of an irregular horseshoe, over which the whole body of water falls at one leap down a precipice of about 40 feet called the Falls. Descriptions of the country from early Oregon visitors such as Ross and missionaries Jason Lee, Marcus Whitman, and Elijah White sparked the Oregon immigration. In the late 1830s and early 1840s, publicity from Oregon boosters deliberately fed this land fever. Peter H. Burnett, later governor of California, informed potential pioneers about the Oregon promise. "Timber," he wrote in 1844, "inexhaustible quantities on the Columbia and Willamette, just where the water is at hand, to drive mills for lumber and flour. The water power at the falls of the Willamette cannot be surpassed in all the world. And after the land is cleared of trees, the timbered land will be the best wheat land in this country." The notion of manifest destiny, which was the expectation that the U.S. would stretch from coast to coast as the dominant power of the Americas, as well as the rivalry between the British, pushed this idea and promise of Oregon as a new frontier for many Americans. Destiny declared that the land was or would be cleared of all obstacles to U.S. possession and settlement. In the 1840s, Oregon's early government had hoped to set Clackamas's eastern border along the Rocky Summit, its northern reach at Russia's Alaska, with Oregon's southern boundary at 42 degrees bordering Spanish California. It was a grand vision. Even if Clackamas County eventually shrank to a region within much smaller borders, the United States did eventually secure all the land to the east, a lesser amount to the north, and a great deal more to the south. These were the promises and visions that many early pioneers heard and bought into as they embarked on their journey to Oregon.